Hey guys, some gamer dude here. I only looked at Bakugan because of the YouTuber Kodok. I found his channel because of his videos on Toys to Life ages back, but I enjoyed his content as a whole, so I subscribed. When he talked about Bakugan Battle Planet, I thought the toys looked really neat, and since a TCG was attached, it would be worth trying. A TCG with toys? How novel. Unfortunately, I couldn't get to play anything but the base game with just the toys until very recently. So while I bought way too many Bakugan, as of recording I'm 44, and had deeply researched the game's intricacies, I didn't want to talk about it on the channel until I had experience with it proper. I do have a lot to say about the game and its cards on a more technical level than is appropriate for a review, but that can be saved for their own videos and another day. Bakugan Battle Planet is a reimagining of 2007's Bakugan Battle Brawlers, a game that, while popular back in its day, went completely under my radar back in 2007. Bakugan is very much a concept of its time, coming in the wake of Beyblade, taking a very old game and revamping it. Where Beyblade took spinning tops and transformed them into a customizable combat toy game, Bakugan took marbles and transformed it into a hybrid toy trading card game. It's not the only marble game of the era. Battle Beat'em took actual marbles and made model kit Gundam-esque launches for them, but Bakugan was a lot more creative, taking the idea of rolling marbles and having them roll over metal cards that release spring locks in the marbles, causing them to transform or burst into a character. Bakugan meaning exploding sphere in Japanese. The game comes from the toys having attributes and the cards interacting with those attributes to create values used in combat. 2018's Bakugan Battle Planet takes the concept of rolling marbles over metal to release spring locks and transform them from the original Bakugan Battle Brawlers, and that's about it. The game being expanded upon greatly from the original, but I get ahead of myself. Bakugan Battle Planet can be played in two different formats: the toy-only base game, looking like a modified and simpler Battle Brawlers, and the full Bakugan Battle Planet TCG experience. I'll start with the base game because it gives foundations for the full game. Each player makes a team of 3 individual Bakugan. No team member can share both a name and a color, here called an attribute, with another member on the team. Each Bakugan comes with a character card, showing their stats in the middle and on the top right what Bakugans they came with and bring to the game. Each of the Bakugan types do different things. Green Fists and Fire Fists raising damage, Shields and Magic Shields raising B power, and Helix being something of a wild card. Each of the cores can come with various stats printed on them, and you are free to customize what you use, but you must use those cores. For example, Darkest Nihilus Ultra brings 2 shields. You can bring any 2 shields, but they have to both be shields. Pyrus Dragonoid Ultra brings a Fire Fist and a Magic Shield. You can choose any one Fire Fist and any one Magic Shield to bring to the game. Once you have assembled your team and chosen your cores, you may start making the Hide Matrix with your opponent. The Hide Matrix being made up of buckle cores, each player taking turns placing one buckle core on the board, starting with the center. Once all 12 have been placed, it's time to brawl. Both players choose a Bakugan and roll them from about 2 card lengths away from the closest buckle core into the Hide Matrix. If a Bakugan rolls over a core with its magnet, it'll open. If neither player grabs a core, they repeat until one player does. If one player does, they win. If both players do, the Bakugan brawl. The Bakugan stats are determined by their B power printed on the toy and their card, in addition to the stat buffs or debuffs printed on the core it grabbed. Highest B power wins, or if there is a tie, damage is used instead. Winner keeps their core and is returned to their card remaining opened. The loser returns their core to the Hide Matrix and closes their Bakugan. This continues until one player opens all 3 of their Bakugan, at which point they win the game. For a simple toy game, Bakugan is quite enjoyable. It's exciting to see who opens their Bakugan, and the actual act of them opening is impressive. It's so sudden, especially with the Ultra Bakugan, which are made to leap into the air and stand up when they grab their core. It's very dramatic and always a fun sight to watch. It's not deep or complex, all you can do is strategically construct a team and learn how to roll your Bakugan, but it's the spectacle of the game. Saying that, focusing more on the Bakugan toys themselves and their aesthetics rather than winning is how I'd recommend approaching this base format of Bakugan. Choose your favorite toys, play with those. The reason I say this is because the game is easily dominated by shield Bakugan, such as the aforementioned Darkus Nihilus Ultra, or Bakugan with high natural B power, such as Aurelius Fangzor. You don't really need damage, so it makes sense to focus on B power. It is so easy to construct a team to abuse how this game functions. It's not funny. Full shield team of Bakugan that either have abilities that give them B power, force shields, or have naturally high B power. Your chances to just overpower your opponent skyrocket. But if you're willing to abuse mechanical aspects of a game to win, I think your time is better spent with the full game, and this is the perfect segue into that. Bakugan Battle Planet's full game introduces a 40-card deck into the mix. As you will notice with the toys, Bakugan come in 6 different factions: Chaos, Pyrus, Aquos, Ventus, Darkus, and Aurelius, being color-coded to white, red, blue, green, black, and gold respectively. The cards you include in your 40-card deck can only be from the factions your Bakugan are. So if you have Chaos, Pyrus, and Aquos Bakugan on your team, your deck cannot include cards from Ventus, Darkus, and Aurelius. Each card is limit 3 and comes in the following card types: Evo cards, used to upgrade your Bakugan with new stats and sometimes effects. Action cards, used to create one-off effects. Hero cards, representing characters from the show and remain in play afterward. Flip cards, this game's trigger mechanic. Bakugan is unique in that both players take turns simultaneously, not one at a time. Each player starts the game by creating the hide matrix as they did in the base game and drawing 5 cards from their deck. Each turn, both players draw a card, then they place a card face down as energy, this game's resource system. Each card on the top right shows their energy cost. To pay that cost, you must turn energy cards sideways to generate that much energy. Cards have no specific costs. All costs are colorless, as would be expected with the energy being face down. Here, either player can play an Evo, action, or hero card if they so desire. Then we go to the Brawl. This operates the same as the base game, except after the Brawl resolves, and either both Bakugan or one Bakugan open, you can play Evo, action, and hero cards to help you win the battle. Then, after a victor is decided, both players may again play Evo, action, and hero cards to modify the damage. Then finally, damage is dealt. This game uses a life deck system, wherein damage is dealt by discarding that many cards from your opponent's deck, here called Flip. This is where we come to the flip cards. If a flip card is discarded as damage, you may play it immediately by paying its energy cost. Flip cards have a variety of uses, most of which being damage prevention. When all 3 of either player's Bakugan open, they can launch a team attack, wherein the 2 previously opened Bakugan add their damage and the damage from any cause they have to the attacker. Afterwards, all 3 are returned to ball form and the cores are returned to the hide matrix. After the damage resolves, both players may play Evo, action, and hero cards again, then the turn ends and all energy is recharged, returned to the upright position. This continues until one player discards their last card as damage. In a unique turn, you do not lose in Bakugan if you draw your last card. You have to lose as a result of damage. When I first bought the starter deck, back when they were first being put on display at my local toy mate, I figured the game to be something of a magic clone of some sort, due to the colour pie being a near exact copy of Magic's. Aurelius being a counterpart to Artifacts, which were originally brown, to Aurelius's gold. I also didn't know what to expect from the game due to it being a hybrid toy and card game, but it impressed me quite quickly. After one game, I was hungry for more. Yes, the theming of the colours is straight out of Magic, more direct than even Force of Will, but the game is its own beast. The game itself more closely resembles an approachable version of the Universal Fighting System. It has the same pacing. The rolling of the Bakugan is a counterpart to performing an attack and doing a control check, your opponent being the difficulty check for their block. Then, both players modifying both Bakugan stats is a counterpart to their enhancing of an attack after it passes a control check. I don't know if this was intended, I very much doubt it was, but the difference is, Bakugan is actually fun, engaging, and easier to understand. The game has a huge amount of spectacle to it. The Bakugan opening, what players can actually play, and the flip cards. Everything about the game has that wow factor. But at the same time, the game feels fairly balanced between costs forcing a pacing curve and the flip cards extending the length of the game, as well as the stats of the Bakugan themselves. It is much like Vanguard in that the game is quickly paced, but not too fast, and has that wow factor related to spectacle. While there is something of a luck factor with your toys and flip cards, the prior can be circumvented somewhat if you learn your toys' weight distribution and nuances via experience, while the latter can be dealt with via deck building, something I'll be talking about in the future. The Bakugan team building and support via cards has a truly staggering amount of strategy behind it. From the cores to the factions to the stats, there is a ton to consider and very different ways you can approach the game. All are ways to achieve the same goal, but there is enough flavour and difference in strategy to keep things interesting. So much so that multiple decks trying different strategies is very appealing until you find your niche. The game hits the three persona trifecta amazingly well. Deck building, spectacle, and strategy. Or as Mark Rosewater puts it, Johnny, Timmy, and Spike. Circling back to the Vanguard comparison, Bakugan Battle Planet is probably my favourite game since Vanguard way back in 2012. While I do like Dragon Ball Super due to its similarities to Vanguard, Bakugan feels both better designed and better made as a game than either of them. I love Vanguard to bits, but it doesn't have choice in deck building decisions on this level. The tactical gameplay also creates an incredibly different, unique, and fresh feel. The game doesn't feel derivative because of this, despite having derivative components. I am thoroughly impressed with the gameplay side of Bakugan Battle Planet and only have one major complaint. Ultra Bakugan can be annoying and time consuming to revert back to ball mode. During one of my games, I had to help a friend with his Chaos Hellcore Ultra because he found it difficult to get it back to ball form. To be really frank, most of the Ultras can be fidgety. This will go away with experience. I too loathed my Ventus Hellcore Ultra when I first got it, and you could just avoid Ultras period, but it is worth mentioning. This is a nice segue into cost of the game and the toys themselves. The barrier of entry is high, I'm not going to lie to you. It's daunting to get into. A recommended retail price of $50 Australian. That eclipses the cost of any other TCG by a wide margin, double the regular prices of any other game. But do consider, you're getting quite a bit. It's not as clear as a $50 starter deck. It's a set of toys that retail for about $30 and a deck making up the remaining 20, or however it breaks down in your local prices. I think there are other ways they could have gone about this, but they are all clunky versus how they did it. Even just selling the decks by themselves and telling people to buy the appropriate Bakugan factions to even use it probably would have been just as unappealing as the high price tag. Though it would have been the path of least resistance, and given the ability for each wave of the starter set 3 packs of Bakugan to include sets in these colours, and promoting augmenting these starter sets with a starter deck. As I said though, that's a little clunky. The toys themselves are fairly reasonable in terms of price, being $12 for a core and $15 for an ultra, $30 for a 3-pack starter set of 1 ultra and 2 cores, and $50 for a battle pack of 2 ultras and 3 cores, none of which feel like bad price points. They're nice little toys with lots of character, very well engineered, especially the Ultras, and have appealing colour schemes chosen for each of the factions. You can generally get your favourite Bakugan in the faction of your choice, if you wait for it to be released or buy certain products. I myself have collected nearly every core Pegatrix because I like the design that much, just waiting on Aqua's Pegatrix as a single. The issues come from the fact stats and effects of the Bakugan in the TCG are not visible on the packaging. Neither are the cores on the multi-packs, necessitating research on the wiki. I have the list of Bakugan Battle Planet waves bookmarked so I know exactly what I'm looking at because of this, and I recommend others do too. The game is very potluck with toys, their identity, and their use in-game being hidden information if you don't have a smartphone. I get they are trying to sell toys and sell Bakugan that might not be particularly useful in the TCG, but the design of the toys should sell it. Speaking from personal experience, it's fairly easy to avoid doubles. Of my 44, I only have one double. My final note may be exclusive to the Australian market. I know it's not true of America at the very least. But the pricing on the boosters is bad. They retail for $7, a dollar higher than any other game found at normal stores, bar Transformers, which is also 7. But that also has something of an excuse with its large two-faced card per back. Bakugan is only sold at normal stores. No devoted card game store carries it yet, so you don't have the option to mass purchase for a discount via box. The only cheaper option is the collection packs, which are oddly enough more expensive than 3 packs in America, but cheaper here. Packs being $4 and a collection being $13 in the US. Here, collections are $19, come with 3 packs, an oversized promo, and 2 cores. One of which being good in the Nilius and Hyderus sets, both the Fire Fist and the Magic Shield being good in Dragonoid. Regardless, it's a $2 saving off buying them individually. But there are only so many you actually need, and eventually it becomes $6.33 a pack with a bunch of extra junk. Still more than most other games, but getting close. The packs are admittedly fairly generous with higher rarities. They drop fairly frequently, but have issues with clumping cards. You will see a lot of specific colour and card types among your commons in any given pack. The set is enormous for a modern kids TCG at 281 cards. This does have 2 side effects. First being getting specific commons becomes a pain, not to mention rares, what this game calls its 2 of a pack rarity level, which are honestly very annoying to find. I'm not sure how much of this actually annoys me with the generous awesome rares in Bakugan Elite, the rarities that aren't in every pack, but not drowning in commons is refreshing, it's just hard when making a deck. The second effect is Australia hasn't seen Bakugan Resurgence yet, the second set, and I'm concerned we won't. With the standard boosters not selling because they are too expensive and there being a cheaper option via the collector's sets, stores have no reason to order boosters. With no new boosters, we might not see Resurgence until Spin Master can get product into LGS, if that ever happens. I hope this doesn't come to pass and Resurgence does turn up. That said, Resurgence was meant to hit back in May in the US and never hit saturation. Rumour has it Spin Master is working on another distribution method for the booster packs, and I hope that's true for everyone. As I said before, I was really impressed with Bakugan when I finally got to try it. It's very spectacle focused with the toys and the flip cards, but the game has a surprising amount of depth. Not so much card interactions, though that is definitely there, but the team building and the risk-reward nature of the brawl. There is a ton of thought that goes into team building. What factions do I want? What cores do I want? Do I want to take advantage of specific Bakugan's abilities or cards? Do I want to compensate for stat lines? Do I want a specific stat to take precedence? All of this has to be taken into account. Even if you just want to use your favorite Bakugan in your favorite faction, you have to build while taking into account its properties. Then the brawl. Do I use cards to try to win the brawl? Or do I keep the resources for a flip card or some type of alternate tactic like Ventus and Darkus damage reducers? If I do push for a brawl win, how likely is it for my opponent to push back? And can I get the final shove in? In what order do I use my Bakugan to gain the most advantages in battle? There is tons to consider, and a good analysis of board state does help good plays, though rolling will be just as important as any of those things. This isn't even talking about how unique and fresh the feel of a tactile hybrid toy game trading card game is. It's a completely unique experience and so charming. I was a bit worried about the amount of draw and the lack of cards being put back into the deck in a game with a life deck, but it doesn't seem to really affect anything. The game has a very pleasant speed, where blows have about the right impact and the deck feels about the right size for the game. Bakugan as a whole does a lot right. Each of the factions have their own strengths and weaknesses. The flavour of each is very strong, with different game plans and different cost to outcome ratios between colours for general mechanics, like increasing B power and damage. It just ticks a lot of the right boxes. It's unique, it promotes deck building, you can get good at it. The toys are bristling with character, it's got that wow factor. It's not terribly expensive to do outside of that initial starter deck if you know what you're buying. It doesn't foster resentment, and best of all, it's genuinely fun. I don't think I've actually liked a game this much since Vanguard back in 2012. This actually makes Bakugan fairly unique for this channel, in that it's the only card game I've reviewed that I've actually given a positive review to on its own merits. It's the only one where I wanted to buy more and more, hungry for more of the game, rather than buying the deck, looked it over, tried it out, researching, and writing a review. As I said in the opening, I have more to say about Bakugan Battle Planet, so if you're interested in that, drop us a sub. Either way, this has been Some Gamer Dude, and thanks for watching.